My name is Jenna Hartman, and this is the story of how I turned betrayal, gaslighting, and heartbreak into the best thing that ever happened to me. The story of how a man who swore I'd never find better now wakes up every day wishing he'd never met me at all. When I met Tyler Scott, I was 31, a marketing manager with a decent paycheck, a tiny Chicago condo, and a head full of big dreams. I was the girl who had everything almost figured out, but there was always something missing. Then Tyler appeared. We met at a startup networking event. He was older, 41, sharp suit, easy smile, a laugh that made people lean closer. He made me feel seen. Special. Desired. He asked questions nobody had asked before. What do you really want, Jenna? On our third date, he brought me flowers and said, I could see myself building an empire with you. He said it so casually, like it was obvious. I should have run then, but of course I didn't. I was in too deep already. Within 6 months, he'd moved into my place, then convinced me to move into his bigger apartment in River North. He said, why pay 2 rents when we could save for our future? Future. He loved that word. He painted it for me every night, our home, our kids, our beach house. And I believed him. At first, he was perfect. He texted me every morning. Called during lunch. Sent surprise flowers to my office. But soon, he'd ask why my phone was always on silent. Why my coworker Greg messaged me about project files after hours. You know he wants you, right? He told me my best friend Lauren was too negative, she's jealous of you, babe. She'll ruin us if you let her. Little by little, my circle got smaller. His circle got tighter, only his friends, his parties, his people. He suggested I quit my stressful corporate job to help with his startup instead, unpaid for now, but it'll pay off soon, you'll be a co-founder on paper. This is for us, Jenna. So I did. I wrote pitch decks, made investor slides, even helped decorate his new co-working office. He introduced me as the backbone of this company. I felt proud, until I realized my name was nowhere on the paperwork. And when I asked about it, he laughed, we're building this together, stop being so transactional. Tyler first said it when we'd been together 2 months. I'd planned a girls' night with my best friend Lauren. She'd been my rock since college, the one who dragged me out of my depression after my dad died, the one who let me crash on her couch when I left my first toxic ex. I'd put on my dress, touched up my lipstick, the same red I'd later find in his car. Tyler was on the couch, scrolling his phone, TV on mute. He looked up when I came out and gave me this half smile. Babe, you look incredible. But do you really have to go? It's just Lauren, you see her all the time. I thought we could just stay in, order Thai, watch that show you like. I just miss you tonight, that's all. I stayed in. Lauren texted at midnight, you okay? I lied, yeah, just tired. He curled up behind me in bed that night and whispered, I just love you so much, Jen. I want you all to myself sometimes. I thought, God, how sweet is that? Next came my coworker Greg. Greg had been on my team for years, a goofy guy with a wife and 2 toddlers. He once helped me move a couch at 11 p.m. when my landlord flooded my apartment. Tyler saw a Slack message pop up on my laptop one night while we were watching TV. Just Greg, sending a dumb meme about our nightmare client. Tyler raised an eyebrow. Why's he dmang you at home? Weird, right? Babe, he totally wants you. Don't be naive, men are like that. He's crossing a line. I laughed it off. But later that night, after 2 glasses of wine and Tyler's sad eyes, I found myself feeling guilty? Like maybe I was the problem for not seeing Greg's hidden crush. A week later, Greg asked if I wanted to join a big pitch meeting in New York, a chance to present my ideas to the big boss. I told Tyler over dinner. He speared his steak, chewed slowly, then said, "So you're gonna fly out with him? Just you and Greg? Do you think that looks appropriate?" I turned the trip down. Greg never asked again. It's the your family stresses you out. A few months in, my mom's birthday rolled around. We always did Sunday brunch at this crowded diner back in my hometown, my mom, my sister Lila's twin toddlers. It was loud, messy, perfect. Tyler came the first time. He smiled, brought flowers, charmed my mom. But afterward, in the car, he said, "Baby, your mom's sweet but, doesn't she stress you out? She's always reminding you about marriage, babies, when you'll settle down. That's so much pressure. I don't like seeing you come home all tense. Maybe next time just go alone? Or just you and Lila?" Next brunch, he stayed home. Then he suggested I skip it entirely. "Let's do our own thing, babe. You work so hard. You deserve a chill Sunday." I missed 2 birthdays before my mom quietly stopped inviting him. He hated selfies. He'd say it with a grin, but there was always a sting behind it. "Another selfie? You're not one of those girls, right? You don't need attention from strangers, do you? You've got me." I archived so many photos. Pictures with Lauren, group shots with old friends, even the ones with my dog at the park. "Too single girl coded," he'd say. I thought, if it makes him feel secure, what's the harm? He'd tease me in front of his friends. Little digs, wrapped in laughter. "Don't let Jenna pick the wine, she'll pick the most expensive bottle every time. Careful, Jenna's a bit dramatic when she's tired, guys. You know what I love about her? She's so feisty, but she knows who's boss at the end of the day, right babe?" I'd smile, laugh too loud, sip my drink to hide my embarrassment. And later, at home, he'd say, "Don't pout. You're too sensitive, lighten up. They know I adore you. Can you take this call for me, babe? Just tell the supplier we'll wire tomorrow. Could you draft that email? You're so much better with words. Babe, could you run these invoices to the Dropbox? I'm slammed." And I did it. I typed up invoices, booked flights for his business trips, cleaned up late-night messes when he got drunk and left pizza boxes on our coffee table. I didn't see it for what it was, free labor. I called it love. People don't talk about this part enough. How intimacy gets used like currency. Some nights he'd kiss me like I was the last woman on earth. Other nights, he'd turn away, cold as stone. If I asked why, he'd say, "You're just so uptight lately. I don't want to force anything. Maybe work on that attitude first." So I worked harder, to be sweeter, softer, quieter, easier. Every time I did what he wanted, turned down a trip, skipped a call, stayed home instead of going out, I got a reward. A new necklace. A fancy dinner. Roses at my desk. He'd post us on Instagram, my ride or die. He'd say, "Other women don't understand me the way you do, baby. You're my future. I don't know what I'd do without you." I clung to that line. What would he do without me? I didn't realize then, the better question was, what would I do without him? One day I looked around and realized I hadn't seen Lauren in 6 months. My sister texted, "Mom's worried. Haven't heard from you." Greg moved to a new team. My old boss stopped inviting me to industry mixers. My world was Tyler. My job was Tyler's company, and it wasn't even in my name. My home was his condo, not mine. My password was his fingerprint. And still, if you'd asked me then if he was abusive, I'd have said, no, he just loves me so much. Quit your job, baby. Come build something real with me. We're unstoppable together. You don't need their paycheck, soon we'll be millionaires. I gave my 2 weeks' notice the next morning. I thought he was the dream. But the thing about dreams is, when you finally wake up, they can't hurt you anymore. It was a Tuesday night when I found the lipstick. I was cleaning his car, he'd left the windows cracked during a rainstorm. It was bright red, cheap, and definitely not mine. I held it up when he got home. He didn't flinch. Didn't miss a beat. He just raised an eyebrow and smirked. You really think I'd be that stupid? It's probably yours. Didn't you wear red last month for your sister's dinner? Stop making problems out of nothing. I half believed him. He took me to dinner that night, ordered my favorite wine, and made me feel silly for ever asking. But the lipstick lived in my head rent-free. Something shifted that night. I started paying closer attention. That's when the gaslighting began. Or maybe it had always been there, I just started to see it. He'd come home at 3 a.m. reeking of hotel soap and blame last-minute investor drinks. He'd pick fights right before important meetings so I'd be too drained to show up. He'd scroll through my phone when I was asleep but lose his mind if I touched his. And when I cried, he'd tilt his head, smile so soft, and say, "Babe, you're so dramatic. You should talk to someone. I'll pay for therapy, you need help working through your trust issues." So I went. He arranged it, his friend's wife, Susan. She never asked real questions. She just said, "Tyler loves you so much, you need to calm your mind so you don't push him away." Gaslighting is such an ugly word. I didn't even know what it meant when it started happening to me. To me, it was just love. It was just Tyler helping me get better. At least, that's what he told me. It started so softly, I didn't even feel the bruise forming. The first time I caught him lying, I didn't even realize I'd caught him. I'd found a receipt in his jeans pocket, an expensive dinner for two, downtown. A night when he'd told me he was working late with his lawyer. I held it up, so casual, "Hey, you left this in the wash." He didn't even blink. He just smiled, leaned back on the couch and said, "Oh, that? Baby, that was for us. Remember? You're so forgetful sometimes." I laughed. Forgetful? Maybe I was. I worked crazy hours back then. Maybe I had forgotten. He kissed my forehead, brushed my hair back. "Don't stress so much, sweetheart. You overthink everything." And that was it, my gut said lie. My head said love. So I let it slide. One night, I was at the kitchen counter paying bills. I asked him about an old parking ticket that showed up under my name. "Oh, that? I paid that last month," he said. I showed him the statement, unpaid. He frowned like I'd insulted him. "Why don't you trust me, Jen? You really think I'd lie about $50? Do you think so little of me? After everything I do for you?" My cheeks burned. No, I didn't think that. I apologized. I promised to trust him more. Later, I paid the fine myself. He never mentioned it again. He had this trick, if I remembered something one way, he'd remember it the opposite. One night, I swear he promised he'd pick me up from work, my car was in the shop. I waited on the curb for an hour. Called, texted, nothing. When he finally answered, he snapped, "Why are you calling me 100 times? I never said I'd pick you up. Are you okay? Are you drinking again? You know you forget things when you drink wine at lunch." I hadn't had wine. I knew I hadn't. But his voice was so calm, so sure, that by the time I got home in an Uber, I was the one apologizing, for forgetting. For being needy. For being crazy. After that, he used it everywhere. When I questioned why he changed his passwords, "You're too insecure." When I asked why he never wanted to visit my mom, "She stresses you out, I'm just protecting you." When I cried about him coming home at 3 a.m., "God, you're so dramatic. You're exhausting me with this." Every single doubt I had became a flaw in me. Never him. He loved telling me I needed help. Real help. "I'm worried about you, babe. You keep imagining things. Maybe you should talk to someone? I'll pay for it, I just want you to be healthy." So he found Susan. A pretty, soft-voiced woman who called herself a holistic emotional coach. Not a real therapist, but I didn't know that. Susan would sip herbal tea while I told her about Tyler staying out all night, the lipstick in his car, the weird phone calls he'd take in the bathroom with the shower running. She'd nod sympathetically and say, "It sounds like your trust wounds are making you anxious, Jenna. Have you considered how your past might be coloring your present?" I'd leave every session feeling worse about myself, and more grateful to Tyler for saving me from myself. One night, I tried to open up to Lauren. I hadn't seen her in months. We met for coffee at a bookstore cafe. I started to tell her about the fights. The therapist. The weird feeling in my stomach that I couldn't shake. She grabbed my hands and said, "Jen, this isn't normal. I think he's controlling you." I snapped at her, "You don't know him. You don't know us." I left without hugging her goodbye. On the drive home I was shaking. Tyler held me that night, wiping away tears I didn't know I had. "She's jealous, babe. She's never liked seeing you happy. She wants you single and miserable like her." I blocked Lauren's number the next day. For my peace. Or so I thought. Sometimes he'd flip from sweet to scary in seconds. One night I confronted him about a hotel charge that showed up on my card. His voice dropped, flat, cold. He leaned in so close I felt his breath on my face. "You want to accuse me of cheating? Fine. If you think I'm such a monster, maybe I should just leave. Maybe I should find someone who appreciates me. Do you know how many women would kill to have me?" My heart dropped. I begged. I promised to trust him more. He hugged me, kissed my forehead. "That's my good girl. I love you. Don't let your mind ruin us." When he really wanted to tighten the leash, he'd stage fake breakups. "I can't do this anymore, Jenna. You're suffocating me with your drama. I'm moving out." I'd cry, beg him to stay. He'd sigh, pack half a bag, leave for a night, 2 nights. Then he'd come back with flowers, soft apologies, "I just needed space. You know I love you. We're better than this, baby." And every time, I gave him more of me. More apologies. More blind trust. One night, I asked about my name not being on the company documents. He just laughed. "Baby, do you think investors take women co-founders seriously? It's still a boys' club. It's better for both of us if you stay off the paperwork for now, but when we cash out, you get half. You trust me, right?" I said yes. Of course I did. I gave up my salary. My savings went to keep the office afloat. He handled the bank accounts, less stress for you, babe. At night, I'd wake up sometimes and wonder, what if he just disappears tomorrow? But by morning he'd kiss my cheek, bring me coffee in bed, and whisper, "I'm so proud of us, baby. Nobody knows me like you do." And I'd shove the doubt down my throat like stale medicine. The final straw wasn't some big blowout. It was tiny. So normal you'd miss it. He came home late again. He smelled like perfume that wasn't mine. He kissed my cheek, said, "Don't wait up next time, okay? I hate seeing you tired. Go to bed, sweetheart." I stood in the hallway for a long time after he closed the bedroom door. I looked at our framed photos, us in Cabo, us at my sister's wedding. I looked at myself in the hall mirror, hollow eyes, forced smile. And for the first time, my gut was louder than his voice. If he's lying about this, what else is he lying about? That was the night I decided to find out. That was the night the gaslighting stopped working. Because once you see the trick, you can never unsee it. It all came crashing down the night I couldn't sleep. I checked his location, we'd shared it once for safety. I'd forgotten it was still on. He'd said he was pulling an all-nighter with his developer team. But his phone pinged from a fancy hotel bar downtown. I put on jeans over my pajamas and drove. I watched him through the window, laughing with a woman who couldn't have been older than 24. His hand was on hers. He tucked her hair behind her ear. He kissed her wrist like he'd kissed mine on our third date. I sat in my car for an hour before driving home. I didn't confront him that night. I didn't even cry. The next morning I asked him how work went. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "You see? Hard work always pays off. Sometimes the moment your life changes forever doesn't feel big. It's not a lightning bolt, not a gunshot in the dark. Sometimes it's just a small green dot on your phone screen. A pin on a map that tells you everything you didn't want to believe." He'd been distant all week. Quieter than usual, but extra sweet, my favorite trap. He'd come home late every night with a new excuse. Investor dinner. Meeting ran long. Traffic, babe, you know how the city is. And every time, the city smell on him was different. Not the scent of our car, our couch, our bed. Something floral. Something I didn't wear. That Monday, we'd argued over nothing, a sock on the floor, my tone, the way I asked if he'd be home for dinner. "You're always so suspicious. I can't breathe with you hovering over me." I apologized. I always did. He kissed my forehead, smoothed my hair back. "I need some air. Don't wait up. I might crash at Ben's if it gets late." Ben, his business partner. The catch-all excuse. He grabbed his keys. I watched him walk out the door like I always did. But this time I didn't curl up on the couch to cry. I didn't pour wine to knock myself out. This time I opened my phone. Months before, Tyler made me share my location. "For emergencies," he said. What he didn't know was he'd never turned his off either. I hadn't checked it in ages. Maybe I didn't want to know. But that night, I opened it, half hoping it would just ping at Ben's high-rise. But it didn't. It pinged at a boutique hotel downtown. The Westin. Not a dive bar. Not a co-working space. A hotel. I stared at the map so long my eyes blurred. Part of me wanted to shut my phone off, crawl into bed, and wake up to his kiss at sunrise. But something inside me, that quiet piece of me I'd buried under his voice, said go. So I grabbed my keys. I didn't change. I wore my old sweatshirt and mismatched slides. I don't know why, maybe I wanted to look invisible. I didn't even lock the front door behind me. Maybe I wanted him to walk into an empty house and wonder. The city lights blurred through my windshield. I remember thinking how quiet the streets were for 11 p.m., like they were holding their breath for me. I parked across from the Westin's glass front doors. From my car, I could see the lobby bar through the floor-to-ceiling windows. And there he was. Tyler. My Tyler. My forever man. laughing with a woman half turned away from me. Her hair was dark, glossy, the kind of hair you toss over your shoulder when you want to be noticed. His hand was on her wrist. He leaned close, whispered something in her ear. She laughed, tucked her hair behind her ear, touched his knee like they'd done this before. I sat in my car for an hour. I watched him laugh. Watched him order another drink. Watched him slide his hand to her thigh under the table. I told myself, get out. Walk in there. Drag him out by his collar. But I didn't. Because some tiny voice whispered, not yet. Let him think he's winning. I memorized her face. The way he looked at her, the same stupid smirk he'd used on me at that networking event. It wasn't special. It was scripted. And he'd used the same lines on her. Maybe worse. At some point, I realized my hands were shaking so hard the car keys rattled in the ignition. I checked my phone, no missed calls. He didn't even bother pretending he'd text me. I imagined him walking her upstairs. I imagined him using my money, the money I'd saved, the salary I'd given up for us, to pay for a hotel room with her. I tasted something bitter at the back of my throat. Rage. Or freedom. I couldn't tell which. When they stood up to leave, I ducked so low my forehead touched the steering wheel. I didn't want to see the elevator swallow them up together. I drove home with the radio off. I could hear every thought in my head like a roar. He's cheating on you. He's lying to you. He's ruining you. And you're going to let him. No. Not this time. Back home, the apartment was too clean. Too staged. Like a showroom of my own humiliation. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at our wedding vision board, the Pinterest mood board taped above my desk, the travel magazine with the villa circled in red pen. It all looked stupid now. Cheap. Like a prop. I cried. It wasn't obvious. Not yet. Instead, I got up, pulled my old laptop out from under the bed. Opened a new folder. Labeled it insurance. Started saving screenshots, hotel bookings from old emails, weird Venmo transfer, receipts I'd ignored. I whispered out loud, Tyler, not tonight, not tonight.